Shemai. Today we're going to have a look at the blackberry or bramble. In Latin it's Rubus fructicosus and in Welsh Moiren. It doesn't have that many names. Lots of the plants we look at have lots of other names, but I did find that it was once called and had an ironic name, which was lawyers, because once in its clutches you'll never escape. Blackberry or bramble, it's a trailing shrub. It's really sturdy. It has these arching prickly stems with these very, very sharp backwards pointing thorns, as you can see by there. It's usually found on woodland edges, or in this case in hedgerows, in scrubland, on banks, and also in gardens. It makes a natural, impenetrable, stock-proof thicket. So animals, this field actually has sheep in, and although they've chewed along the bottom of the hedge, they're not chewing these because obviously these thorns and the prickles, they catch in their wool, and obviously it's not that nice for them to be chewing on the prickles. One of the problems with bramble, and one of the reasons it's not looked particularly favourably on, is that it can overpower hedges. It will grow over hedges, it will smother them, and it will destroy whatever's underneath it with its shade. And it's actually been described as a primitive thug because of this smothering and this overtaking of existing plants and hedges. One of the reasons that blackberry and bramble become so successful is that it has the capability, and if you see this, follow this arching branch down here, when this tip here reaches the ground, it has the capability of rooting from there. So if that gets down as far as the ground there, roots will grow from there and a new plant will be able to grow from there, so it can travel over the distance, and that's why it's so good at smothering, as you can see here, smothering hedges. Bramble, when you look in books, it says it can grow about 2 meters, but actually I've certainly seen some brambles that are way beyond 2 meters. Like I said, this arching branch here, if I measured that back all the way back to the base, would probably already be 2 meters. They can grow much, much more than that. The leaves, if you look here, are usually 5 oval toothed leaflets with prickly stalks and veins. In this case, there's actually only 3 toothed leaflets, and if you look underneath, it's very difficult to see actually underneath, the prickles, just not sure if you can see them against my finger. The blackberry flowers appear between sort of May and September, and they can be white or pink, and they have 5 petals, and bees and bumblebees absolutely love them. But this is what blackberries are all about, the fruit. They start off, as you can see, those flowers start off with these little green berries, then turn into the reddish ones before they ripen into black. They're giving it the name blackberry. And they have lots of, as you can see on that one, lots of small segments. Pull that one up, there we go. Lots of small segments, and they're really rich in vitamin C, so lots of vitamin C, which is good for you. Now when you pick them, they often break off with the stalk, but they are, this one hasn't, really tasty. Very tasty. Blackberry has lots of uses. The leaves can be made into a tea. It can be used to treat diarrhea, skin rashes, eczema, mouth and throat infections. And of course the blackberries themselves can be used as a food, to make jam and to make wine. The thorny, sort of scratchy, thick nature of it means that it's a very good habitat for snakes, and particularly grass snakes, because they're obviously in there and they're protected and predators can't get to them. Also, these stems can be stripped of the thorns and the leaves, and made into string, and also made into baskets. And I remember some years ago, a lady that I knew of used to collect long lengths of bramble like these and make the most fantastic baskets. It's said that blackberries shouldn't be picked after Michaelmas, which is the 29th of September, or in the old days it was actually the 11th of October, because the devil had damaged them or soiled them in some way. Some people say that he fell on them after having been cast out from heaven on that day, or that he spat on them, or that he threw his cloak on them or stamped on them. Also, interestingly, blackberries would be sometimes planted onto graves, and they say it was to protect the grave from being grazed on by sheep or other animals, but some people even say that it was to keep the dead in. Blackberry is a great plant for wildlife. In books, interestingly, it says that it's affected by many insects, wasps, moths and fungus, but actually I don't think affected is the right word. I think they're looking at it primarily from the way that they will damage the fruit or eat the fruit, but you've got to see it as a positive, the fact that it is such an attractive plant to wildlife. We already said about the grass snakes wanting to sort of live in and underneath it for the protection, but also the birds like to eat the berries, the blackberries, as do foxes and badgers, and like I said, you know, the insects that visit, the wasps, the moths, it can only be a good thing. So there we go, the blackberry. It's very common, easy to find. I would suggest that if you're going to go out blackberrying, picking the blackberries, then wear some protective clothing. It's uncomfortable, but it's worth it. These are such a treat to pick them straight off the plant and eat them, or make them into something else. So yeah, there we go. The blackberry. Go out, have a look, see if you can find it, and good luck.